Hey guys, it's Maymay, and I'm so excited about this new Maddie's die. This is the scalloped waterfall. We have several new ones in stock, but this is the one I'm going to play with today. I cannot wait to. And also, if you watched my fall album that I did with the photo sleeves, I sent that to my granddaughters and it went down a treat. They loved it. And I was like, well, how can I do something for Christmas? So that's what we're going to do today. Let's make a waterfall 12 Days of Christmas album. So I'm going to use this Candy Cane Christmas. I think it is super, super cute, and it just feels like the girls to me. And we're going to build this one. Like, we're going to build this one out of chipboard from the ground up. So to build it from the ground up, I'm going to use chipboard. Now, I'm not using my super thick chipboard for this one. I'm just going to use the Graphic 45 medium weight chipboard that we have. But you could do this same thing with the thicker chipboard if that's what you got. So I'm going to do this as 5 inches, and this album is going to have a spine and another 5-inch page. I'm doing this one very simple. I think it'll be neat. But this guy right here this is the die, and I just want to make sure I have about 1/4 of an inch on either side of it. So that's where I got my measure from. If you want to go wider, you surely could. Now I'm using, let me talk before I do this. I'm using my Tim Holtz rotary trimmer here because it makes cutting through chipboard a dream. I love it very much. By the way, this chipboard I'm using is actually leftover from the last album I did, the fall one. All right, so let's put this at 8 inches because that's the height I want. So a little 5x8 album, I think that's going to be perfect. I just want something they can just put pictures in, and I'll show you kind of a neat way we're going to do pictures too. So this piece here is 3/4. It's actually one of my little offcuts from my scrap, so I'm going to stick with it. And I'm going to use 3/4 by 8 inches, and that's going to be our spine. I am rusty on building my own albums. So if you see me do something that I shouldn't, I completely get it because it's been a long time. This is how my little album's going to lay out. So I need to get some cardstock to lay this on so I can wrap it around. This paper pack is so cute. Let me dig through and see which one I really, really want. So I like the Christmas trees and the gingerbread men. It's hard for me to decide here. I think I'm going to go with the gingerbread men. I think they're really, really cute. Or I should say gingerbread people because there's lots of different ones on there. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make sure this is going to fit. I have not built this yet. I'm building it with you guys. I'm going to make sure. I'm a person that likes to wrap over 1/2 an inch, okay? So this is not going to be big enough. I'm going to have to extend this cardstock out. No big deal. I can show you how we do that. But I like to wrap over to my chipboard at least 1/2 an inch so it stays nice and tucked and it gives me room to kind of play. So what I need to do, let's measure this. This should be 10 3/4, but let's just double check. It is. So I'm going to cut this down to 9. I'm glad that it'll work, but it didn't to extend the cardstock. If you need to extend your cardstock, I have lots of videos showing you how to do this. But what I typically do is find a spot kind of in the middle, somewhere on or around my spine that I can cover up, and I just glue my cardstock together. And when I do, say I wanted to extend this out, when I do, I like to overlap it about 1 inch, at least 1/2 an inch, but I like to overlap it so I can give myself plenty of adhesive. We won't need that this time. We're in good shape. When I'm building my own albums, I like to use sticky tape wherever I can on these pieces. It holds them still and it gives them some stability. And it also lets me get adhesive all the way to the edge. So I'm going to lay that down there. Slide this down. I am going to have to do some trimming here because I have it hanging over the edge because my last cut wasn't very straight. But I like to get adhesive all the way to the very, very edge. I'm just going to move that out of the way so we can do all this at one time. I'm going to go ahead and cut this off. Just trim this up nice and even. Then, because my adhesive strip is a little wider, I'm going to open up part of this and lay it open. We'll put it back in a second, but I'm going to do it like that so I can put this other strip down here. And if they overlap in the middle, we'll be good. It won't really matter because now I'm just sticking, adhesive to adhesive. So you can see now I can just lay that back down, flip this guy over, and trim it nice and neat. So while I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and cover all of my chipboard pieces with adhesive just like this. Now you saw me trim all those pieces down. You really don't have to be too picky about that because that adhesive will wrap over. It's just how my brain likes to do. So just like nice and neat on those edges. On my spine, I'm going to make it really easy on myself because I'm going to use my thinner tape and just cover it a couple times as well. So here's where we are. The backs are covered. There's adhesive on all of that. Now let's go to this guy and get ready to lay this out. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take my ruler And because I have a grid, which I love, by the way, I'm going to take this and lay it on my cardstock 1 inch in. You see how I can do that there? I can see the 1 inch mark. I've got it down here to 9 and starting at 1. Now I know exactly where to lay this piece, and let me just show you what I mean. I want it to come 1/2 inch down and 1/2 inch in. This shows me exactly where when I'm ready to lay it down. Let's peel this backer off. Now, double check your ruler. Make sure it's in the right place. Just going to lay it there nice and snug. And I'm going to butt this up against the 1/2 inch mark at the top and the bottom and lay that down. I know I'm 1/2 inch in and 1/2 inch all the way around. See that? Now what I'm going to do is flip this around and place my other piece down, then put the spine in, all right? If you're not confident with your spacing, you might want to put this guy in first, but if I can get almost 1/8 of an inch between the two, I'm in good shape. And you'll see here, I think I've got plenty of room to do that. So I'm going to put this guy down next. Exactly the same way, lining that up 1/2 inch at the top and the bottom and laid that in. That makes that line up really good. Okay, another thing I want to do, which I always do at this point anyway, I want to take my bone folder and run between these guys, scoring right next to where these are going to fold, okay? This is going to help us with cracking. Is it going to fix it completely? Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it does. Then I'm not just going to fold this guy over, and I'm not going to wait till I put my spine in to start the fold. I want to start working this paper so it can get used to the fact that I'm going to be folding it before I ever put that piece in the middle. So I'm not creasing that. You see how I'm not laying it down super, super flat? The other thing is this. I really don't need this album to go flat. I just need it to go this far, okay? So I don't want to take this and like crease it super flat. That also causes to get those cracks and things along the edge. The big thing I want you to do is work it slowly into its position. So you see how I'm doing there. As much as I want to lay this down and crease it, there's just no need to, and I'll be better off if I don't. So same thing here. So this allows me, let me see where we're at. I like to keep my top and bottom. Ooh, it doesn't matter, look. I think I'll let this be the top. Okay, I like to keep it top and bottom because you know how I am about orientation. It's better if I just go ahead and do that for myself. Now look at that spacing. That is perfect between there. So let's peel the adhesive off of here. Not peel the adhesive off, that's wrong. Peel the backer off. Leave the adhesive, please. All right, and now I'm going to center this between the two and try to line them up even as possible. If you want to stick something between, like back in the day, I would just use my ruler. Let me show you. I would just take my ruler and just lay it in there and let that be my spacer. But today I think I have a little more space than that. So I'm just going to eyeball it. I'm just going to drive it into place just like that. Super good, super good. Now watch. Now let's work it a little more. See how carefully and slowly? Give those fibers time to move. Don't force them. So I've done that much, and now I think I'm going to come back, and now this is in here. I'm going to score against my spine and really soften those fibers in the middle. If you want to put something under here, another notebook, a mouse pad, something like that, you can. I'm just doing this, and I'm going to get a nice fold. Don't force it. You don't need to. Don't lay it down flat. And I'll show you how that looks. I want you to be able to see it. You see how smooth that is? Because we didn't force it and we gave it a little time. I can see if I went too hard, I probably could break that, but it doesn't need to go any more than that, even once it's built. So let's leave it alone. All right, now what we want to do is take some bulk out and do some folding over. Number one, I want to miter these corners. Okay, so I'm going to take my scissors. And this is important. It's been a long time since I've done this, but it's like riding a bike. I want to cut an angle here, but I do not want to cut to that point. If you cut to that point, when you fold things down, it will show the point. I don't want the point to show. So to be safe, if you take your ruler and put it at your chipboard, okay, and you don't have to do this, but you can do it this way. Just holding this at an angle and do a little pencil mark. Something like that. You see that space I've left myself? That's really more than I need. but it's better to have too much than not enough. I think what I'll do is cut to the inside of that pencil mark. Then I want to show you. I like to leave about 1/8 of an inch, and it still may be a little much. And when you make this, if you think it is, you can always trim it down. We can test it before we glue everything down. Again, go away from that. Just don't cut right to it. I learned my lesson the hard way. I went right to it one time, and then my chipboard was showing underneath. All that did was give me an excuse to learn something new to cover up my corners. But still, if we can avoid it, let's do. All right, so we got that done. Now what I want to do, I was thinking about slicing here and here. I still think I might. I like to because I think I get a better fold when I take a little bit of that out. But it does give the opportunity for things underneath to show. I think we're going to do it. I'm going to slice up. I'm just going to do it to the middle. I used to cut this out completely, but I'm just going to slice it like that for now just to give me a little less bulk in that seam or in that fold. Just going to do that. And now my other step, I always take a lot of time with this step. I think it needs it. Now I'm going to take my bone folder and I'm going to run beside all of my chipboard, scoring this paper. I'm just kind of saying this is where I'm going to be doing this, so pay attention. This is where we're coming to start folding. You're probably going to tell me in the comments there are tools to do this with, and I know, but I've been out of this for so long, this style of album, that I haven't bought any of those tools. I know they're out there, and so I might pick some up, but this is how I've always done it, and it kind of works for me. All right, I want to start curving this, and I want to show you something. I'm not going to force it. I'm going to work it. I'm going to use the heat of my fingers. Every time my fingers pass, I'm doing a little more fold and a little more fold, but I'm not forcing it. When you force it, that's when you get those cracks. And I like to just kind of slowly bring that over, just like that. You really don't have to burnish this or crease this super hard. It's not going to be flat. It's going to wrap around, so we don't have to try to make it flat. Then let's put some sticky tape in there so we can lay it down. Actually, I'm not going to do sticky tape yet. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to get everything ready, like warmed up and ready. So sometimes I'll stand it up on my work surface and slowly turn it over like that, just to get me started. Then I'm just going to feel through here and press these. That one did easy. You feel where the resistance is and you just kind of tell it, this is where I want to go. You will get it to go flat, but it won't be creased flat. Now here's where we can check our corners. Let's see how this corner is going to look. When we turn this over, which again, I just take my time. When we turn this down, see how pretty that is and how nice and clean, and it goes all the way together and none of our chipboard is showing? That's what we want. This one's a little bit, there's a little bit of a fold. I'll bring it up. Just a little bit of a fold right there. So I could take a little more off. Just going to take a sliver. That's much better, like that. Fold that guy down. Then I'm going to check these two corners as well. That one's pretty good. That one's pretty good. We can let those ride. All right, let's put our tape on now. Now that we've worked everything around, I'm going to run some tape across the bottom. You probably could just run this straight across the bottom. I tend to not. I don't like the bulk in my fold, so I tend to tear it in between each one of these. Anything to keep bulk out of that area is what I try to do. There was a point in time when I said I would never do this again. Do you remember that? I did a video and I said, never again. But you know, sometimes those pre-mades, you guys know because you make them, sometimes the pre-mades aren't exactly what I'm looking for, and I wanted this one to be custom for what I've got in mind, and so I'm going to make it myself this time. I know better than to say never. My daddy taught me, never say never. You never know what you'll decide to do. I don't think I was a hard, fast never anyway. I think I was just being funny. Okay, so there we go. Let's peel these backers. I'm going to go ahead and peel all of this on one side. And now we can work these in. I think I'll work the tops in first. Even when I do this, I just sort of work it in very gently. Also, when you're using that tape, if you want these corners, these edges to look really good, make sure you use a wide enough tape to cover every bit under there. That really does help this look nice and clean. All right, before I fold these down, I'm going to do a test and see if I need to get rid of that bulk. I am getting some resistance up there, so I think I am going to trim some of that out. The way I'm going to do it is just to go right here, just trim that. I used to do this. I used to cut this away before I got here, and I just have not made one of these in such a long time. I wasn't sure if I needed to, but I am going to do it. Now I'm just going to fold these down into their adhesive, and that part will be done. All right, let's test it. Much better. Very, very little resistance. All right, check it out. See what you think. So pretty good. I don't have any cracking here. I'm hoping that it doesn't develop. I've got it closed all the way flat, which it won't close that flat when we get it filled up. Everything seems okay on the inside. I'm pretty happy with that so far. All right, let's add an inside piece. So I just cut a piece to cover the inside. This is 7 3/4 by 10 3/4. And let me show you how this is going to go. This is going to lay across all of our work to kind of seal this guy up. And what I want to do is I want to lay this kind of in a dry run situation first, okay? And then I'm going to go ahead with my bone folder and start working this crease. Don't overpress here, okay? I just want to get that crease working, just like this, before I ever fold it. Before I ever glue it, before I ever fold it. This is going to help us in the long run. See how that pushes? It loves to push. These are not the easiest albums to get perfect. So if you need perfection, this is not the greatest, okay? You can get it really, really cute. It'll look good. There are other ways to do this too. Like if you wanted to, you could cover the spine separately. And these two pieces you could do with like a border punch and let that border just hang over the spine, and it would move when it opened and closed, and you wouldn't see the kind of the resistance that you get. It's not quite the same because you do have a piece that's not quite closed. You know what I'm saying? It's not sealed down all the way. All right, so let me now crease this guy because that's where he's going to go. And then let's crease the other one. And sometimes just working these guys makes a difference. All right, so I know that's where it's going to go. So now when I put it into the book, you'll see here that we can get that fold and we can get this fold. And it still wants to move, but that's just the way it is. Now, you can decide how you want to put it down. I think I'm going to put this spine down with sticky tape for safety, and then we'll seal the sides down. Now for this one, because of where I'm going to be putting it, I do want to make sure I get all the edges cleaned up of the adhesive because I can't really tuck that as well the way I'm going to put this down. So I'm going to run around these edges, and anywhere I've got adhesive hanging off, I'm going to just trim it away. It wasn't too much. So let's take these backers off. I'm going to bend this again before I try to put it down. Make sure I've got it facing up like I want it. Then I'm going to place this middle in first. Seal that down. I'm going to push. Just keep working it. Right here, it didn't like it. Let's try that again. Let's work on this middle section. This side really doesn't mind it. Good. Let's try this one again. Not too bad. Not too bad. We're getting there. If you need to keep working it, this seems like it takes a long time. It does to me. If I want to get it nice and neat, I have to spend some time on it. There we go. All right, now we can take off the last piece. So just peeled that out. I'm going to lay that down. Press it out. I got a little closer to one side than the other. I ain't going to stress about it, y'all. It definitely looks better over here than over here. You see my big gap. That's okay. This gives me a reason to put something here that is cute. We'll find something to kind of make this match, and you'll never see it. If I can't make a mistake and show y'all, then who can I show, right? Let's see what I can do to make that better. So in my stash, I have this guy, and the waterfall I'm using is a scallop waterfall, so I think it'll work as well. So let's cover up my little mistake. I made these little strips with my border punch. I cut them 1/2 inch wide by the same as my little pink page, and look, it'll be cute. It'll look okay. It'll be fine. No biggie. So I'm going to glue these guys down. I'm just going to use wet glue for this part. I talked about what I'm doing right here in a class we had recently. I found that when I use a cloth to help me rub this down, any excess glue that comes out gets onto my cloth and not my work surface and not everywhere else. So I really like that because I put a lot of glue on this so it'll stick down. So that's why I use my little cloth for that. All right, that took some time, but I'm happy with it. I'm happy with how it turned out. I'm happy with how it's folding and creasing. And the more we add to it, the cuter it will get. All right, let's get our waterfall feature ready. So for the waterfall feature, you need this die. This is the one that has the fold down to attach it into our book. And you see the little scalloped edge. It's so cute. Now I discovered something. Take a piece of 6x6. Actually, no, if I take a piece of 12x12 and I fold it in half and put it into my embossing machine, I can then lay this down and cut 2 at a time, which I really like because I'm putting 6 on either side of my album. So this makes it go quick. Plus, I only have to pick 3 pieces of cardstock because I've got front and back here. So now we take this out and you see I end up with 2 in one pass. So I can put 1 on either side, or I can do it like this where I have 1 and another so I don't need as many cardstocks each time. I personally just cut multiples from each of these. I went ahead and cut 4 from each piece. That way I could get what I needed on both sides and they'll kind of match. Now these dies also come with these pieces that we can use to be our closures for our waterfalls. So I'm going to grab 2 pieces from this guy, or at least this green color. So I'm going to fold this in half so I can get them in one pass. I like to do that when I can. When dies will cut through 2 at a time, it makes me happy. So let's cut 2 of this little guy. So you can see we got 2 and it cuts and scores for us. So that's awesome. Now let's get the layering piece for it. This is a scrap from 2 pages that I cut. This is the middle piece, and I really like this little holly berry look in the middle, little holly leaves. So I'm going to cut 2 of those. So on these guys, I'm going to fold this back and go ahead and get this ready to install into our book. And if you're worried about the score, like when you do 2 at a time and you can't see that second one as well, if you just get it started, it'll find its way in. And this is the piece that goes on top. Now, I'm not going to glue these together yet because this is a good way to hide our magnet later. So we'll put those aside. Now let's bring our waterfall pieces over. So these are the pieces we just cut together, and you can see at the top they have a score line. So again, just start that fold and it'll find itself, and you can crease this down just like so. Do that to all of them. Now what I'm going to do is alternate them because I want to use both sides of the cardstock. So I'm going to do these this way, and then I'm going to do another set just like it. That just means I'll fold one back and flip it over and then fold this back so I get both sides of my cardstock showing, both decorator sides. Let me show you the others I've already cut. Okay, so I've got 6 ready for either side, and I think I'm going to let them match. I think that'll be kind of cute. So these are ready to go into our book. Here's our book. I'm going to make sure I've got it at the top. I'm sure I do because I put the words in correctly, which is good, but I am a checker, rechecker because I've learned my lesson on those. Let's bring our little waterfalls over. Now, how you install these. First, you want to decide how you want them to lay in the book. Now, I'm laying them on top of each other, which is not how they'll lay. You'll see them underneath each other, but I kind of like this layout of color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn these upside down over here, okay? And this is how I will glue this in. I'll glue the first one in, centering at the top. You just really have to focus on getting the first one in correctly, okay? Because after that, we're going to line up everything else to it. So just make sure you get this guy in nice and straight. You can use sticky tape here or wet glue. I'm just going to use wet glue. I'm going to lay this down and then I'm going to work to line it up nice and straight. And when I designed it, I gave myself plenty of room at the bottom, so I don't really have to stress too much about the bottom. I just want to get this straight. And I feel like it's a little crooked, but I'm not 100% sure because I'm not sure if I got my paper in perfectly straight either. So let's measure. Yep, that looks pretty good. All right, and then we're going to lift this up and we'll take our next one in line, which I had this one, and we're going to glue this little flap, okay, right where this one ends. So right where that one leaves off, you'll glue this one down. And now that I'm doing this, I may want to change these because I don't like how this looks when it opens. So I think I'll change this one out and just remember that I did that on the other one too. I think I'll use this one and switch this guy into there a little bit. So put this one here. That way I like it better when it opens. So I'm noticing the same thing. All my colors, I have them lined up where the insides match. I don't want that to happen. So I'm just going to mix them all up. And then however these lay out, I'll do the same on the other side. All right, so there's one side. Guess what? I still had some line up. I don't know, but it's fine. It'll be cute when we get it all decorated. Now I'm going to do this same process on this side. So to save you from having to watch me run this die through a bunch of times, I cut 24 of these little guys. I really only had to run it through 12 times because I cut them 2 at a time. But I want to use these for where to place the photo, right? I did cut 24, but I think I'm not going to use 2 of them. Let me show you why in the album. So when we open it, I really don't want to put a photo here. I really just want to put something super cute here that will hide a magnet that will also work with my little flip up piece. So I won't be putting one of these here, but look how cute that is on there. Isn't that adorable? And I could put one here. I could just put the magnet underneath it, but I think I want to save that for something cutesy. So I'm not going to put that there, but all the other ones, front and back, are going to get these guys. So this die set comes with a stamp that is a camera and it says 4x4 on the bottom, which is the size photo this holds. I'm going to put this guy into my stamp wheel up in that top corner, and I'm going to stamp the ones that I want to hold photos. So I'm not going to stamp all of them, just the ones I want for the pictures to go on. So let's ink this guy up. Now, I have lots of cameras and lots of place photo here stamps in my stamp sets as well, but I thought if you bought the die, you'd have this one and you'd want to see how it works. So there it is, and I'm going to use this to stamp the rest of these really quick. Okay, can I show you my cheater method? All right, check this out. This is one, okay, just like it should be. Then I'm going to come to this corner up here, and I'm going to put it in the corner all the way over like that, and it's going sideways. This one, I'm going to put upside down in this corner, okay? And then this guy, I'm going to put sideways in this corner. So I can stamp 4 with my wheel. So check this out. I'll ink this guy up. Turn him around and press him down. Pick him up. We're going to ink him again. I'm going to clean some of this off because if you get ink where you don't want it, you're going to get ink where you don't want it. That's what I say all the time. If you get it on your block where you don't want it, you'll probably get it on something else where you don't want it. All right, and this time I'm going to turn it to the side. And I know where the top is because of this hole, okay? So I just turn that hole all the way around. Stamp that one. Let's keep going. I'm not using my impressible on this. You're probably noticing that, but the reason is this stamp that comes with the Maddie's die is not photopolymer, and sometimes you can overpress them, and I find whenever I use my impressible with my not photopolymer stamps, I tend to overpress. So I'm just doing it that way so I can get a nice even pressure. All right, and check it out. That's 4 done fairly quickly. So back to our little book. Again, I don't think I want to put anything on the front. I think I want to save those for decoration. And these guys will mount so beautifully. Look at that, how they just map perfectly on here. Okay, so you're probably doing the math going, Maymay, this is more than 12 pictures. It is. I originally was just going to do 12 pictures, but I really don't like leaving the backs of my waterfalls blank. And I could make them journaling spots, but I think I'd rather just fill this with photos. I want to send this to my grandgirls, and they love to put in pictures. So I think I'm just going to fill it with photo spots. So they'll get more than 12, but for December, you probably will have more than 12 pictures anyway. So they can use this kind of as their December album. And I have a plan to make this a prompted album. And if you don't know what a prompted album is, you're going to want to be here for part 2 because I'm going to show you how this album is going to tell the recipient how to use it. Okay, so be here for part 2. This is going to be part 1 today. I'm going to glue these guys down between now and when we get back together, and then we will start on part 2. Be sure to subscribe, set the notification so you don't miss my next video. Give this one a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and until next time, bye now.